Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated to bringing leaders and entrepreneurs strategies, tips, and resources to overcome their obstacles to build resilience and achieve success. If this is your first time listening or you've been part of our community for a while, thank you for tuning in today. I have a great guest with me today, Rich Allen. Rich is a nationally renowned speaker whose primary mission and purpose are focused on one single objective: to help business owners engage and activate the power of their team. During his 30-plus years in the industry, he has gathered knowledge and expertise that allows him to inform business leaders how to energize their team and transform their business into one that's profitable, sustainable, and driven by radically engaged team members in a way that's as easy as riding a bike. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Hey, Warren, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. As you might know, on How to Become an Obstacle Buster podcast, we provide strategies, tips, and resources for leaders and entrepreneurs to overcome their obstacles to achieve success. So really, to start that conversation today, as the founder of Tour de Profit Business Advisory Service, author, and speaker, tell us about your business.
Well, I love the podcast title and the direction that you have, because I think that's what holds people back, right? Are the obstacles that they face and they don't know what to do with it. So years ago, I had the opportunity to run a business, and I got to see what the obstacles were firsthand. And after we spent several years in the business, we had the opportunity to sell it to a competitor, and I had a chance to basically break away, go on my own, set up my own business, and help business owners do exactly that. Think through their business, resolve their challenges, and grow a business that could truly work without them.
Oh, well, excellent. Within that system then, and I'm sure we'll get into this further within the show, but within that process, do you find that business owners are resistant to be able to develop a system and let go of some of that responsibility?
You know, I think, what I find, Warren, often is that most people that have the confidence to start their own business or build a business, they're pretty self-resilient. They're pretty self-dependent. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they know, and they have this belief that they can do things better than anyone around them. So the last thing they want to do is to delegate or give things away, let others do things that would free them up, but they have a particular nuanced way that they want to get work done. So they tend to hold on to things perhaps longer than they should.
Sure. So obviously we are currently recording the show in crazy times with COVID-19. So with this, as a business advisor to small businesses, what advice would you offer them about COVID-19?
Well, you're right, Warren. This is a very, very crazy time, but it's also a time that we could take advantage of if we want to. And while the COVID situation really is real, it also plays with our mindset. And so oftentimes that's what holds us back. And I tell business owners all the time, entrepreneurs who are in the middle of this, we ought to stop calling it a crisis, and we ought to rename it an opportunity, because there are going to be many who really take this period of time, transform their business, and do something extraordinary. And if you look back, many of the best businesses that we have today, the largest businesses, were created at a time just like this, under different circumstances, obviously, but at a time of crisis.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Rich, around mindset, because I think that's a critical missing piece. And certainly if somebody is not aware, as a business owner, we get caught up on the day-to-day and not self-aware of how our thoughts are driving our actions or inactions to help us to be able to pivot in this time. When you work with business leaders, is there a strategy that you use to help them develop their mindset?
Well, it comes down to really being crystal clear on what you want to accomplish, right? What's the What's the vision? What's the goal? Because without that, we're just going to work every day. And something like this maddening situation that we're in can take all the wind out of your sails. It'll, deflate you before you even get started. And so you've got to have a really clear understanding of why you're doing the business that you're doing and what the end goal is so that you can power through these difficult times. I think that's critically important today.
Yeah, I would agree. Having the strong why and knowing how you're going to be able to persevere.
Exactly. Warren, I love the term you used when you said we've got to pivot, because I've been using that word a lot. I didn't use that word 2 months ago, but over the past 2 months, I've been using the word pivot in virtually every conversation that I'm coming up to, because that's the key to success today.
Yeah, I would agree in reference to looking for ways to pivot. I was doing another training with some other clients the other day, and we talked about the importance of being able to position, to be able to pivot, having the right mindset to be able to pivot and to see that they actually can persevere during this time if they look for solutions. And once you focus on that word, you'll start seeing other stories and other businesses that have been able to pivot. That gives you creativity that would give you insight of how you could pivot.
No, that's absolutely right. I just think it's critical. And very honestly, I think for businesses, there are 3 things they specifically have to pivot right now. One is their message to the marketplace, right? Our old message that we had been sending out to the marketplace prior to this is probably no longer relevant today. People aren't necessarily going to tune into it. So we got to change our message. We got to change our promise, and we've got to amplify our promise. We've got to reduce the risk even more than perhaps what we had reduced the risk prior, because this is not a time that anyone wants to assume risk. And the third thing we have to pivot, Warren, this is how we deliver our product or service. And we're seeing that across the board, where people are having to find new ways to engage with their customer rather than just saying, cripes, I can't get together, so I guess I got to close my doors.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for those 3 points. That's excellent. So what is the greatest obstacle your clients encounter?
I would say that in most cases, the biggest challenge is building a strong team, right? Whether somebody has inherited a business or someone has built a business over time, if they have a team of people, they probably have some folks that have been on the team for a long time, and they are just simply making do with the people that they have. And as a result, their business probably isn't as good as it could be. And on the other hand, if someone's just starting out, most entrepreneurs are really reluctant to take that first step to add people to their team, because most entrepreneurs see themselves as superhuman, knowing that they can do everything and anything, and they will. So they hold on to too many responsibilities before offloading them or delegating them to other people so that they can focus on what matters most.
So like in building that strong team, are there strategies or tools that you use to walk a business owner through to help them identify what a strong team would look like?
I do. And to me, it's pretty fundamental. It's pretty foundational, right? But it oftentimes starts, and there are several pieces to it. Obviously, it's not that simple, but there are 2 big ones that I think matter and are important. One is to understand the specific roles and responsibilities you want to have in your business. And most small businesses, honestly, don't even have an organizational chart. And I think that's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And when somebody comes from a corporate environment or starts their own business, because an organization chart is intended to communicate to everybody on the team how everything fits together, right? I call it the frame of the bike. Mm-hmm. But most don't even have one. And so everybody does a little bit of everything, which means nobody's responsible for anything. And as a result, it's hard to get true accountability and true ownership. And and get people to do things well. That's the first issue, I think. The second issue, if I can just add it while we're here, is most business owners, I would argue, aren't that good at hiring people. In fact, all I have to do is look at job postings for any open jobs that are out there, and I know for certain that most make hiring selections based on the skill that they need for the job, not based on the behaviors that the person's going to bring to their business. And yet, I can tell you with certainty, I've never seen anybody lose their job or get asked to leave because they didn't have the skill. It's 100% because they didn't have the right behaviors. They didn't act the right way. They didn't engage our customer the way we wanted. And yet we don't hire for those behavioral things. We tend to hire for skill, and we need to flip that around.
Yeah, that's really good insight, Rich. Thank you for sharing. That's a key aspect to set different business owners apart, to know how to interview, probably because they're busy with all other aspects that they're running the business. And that's one more thing that they add to their plate. So that seems to be the easiest thing, but to get the right person on that team is definitely flipping that equation.
Yeah, it is, honestly, Warren. And the reality is, very honestly, most of us aren't that good at predicting whether someone's going to be good in a job or not. Our track record suggests that we're not all that great at it. So we've got to find different ways, and we've got to build more of a robust process to bring people on our team. In fact, I always say we need to build the wall really high and make people have to get over the high wall in order to earn the right to be on our team. And the harder we make it to get in our business on our team, the more people will be committed to do well once they do get on our team and are successful getting through the hiring process.
Yeah, I love that strategy. So what was the key strategy that contributed to your success building your business?
You know, when I had the opportunity to run a business, it was a manufacturing business. And Warren, I didn't know how to run a manufacturing business. I hadn't been in the manufacturing space for very long. But what I realized was that the people operating the business truly did know the business better than I ever would. And what I thought was missing was a way to communicate with everybody in the business about how a business truly works, right? Most people that have been educated, they go to college or go get their MBA, whatever. They learn these big words like strategy and organizational structure and the things that it goes right over everybody's head. And I thought, how could we find a way to really talk to people in a manner that they could really understand? And I came to this idea that everybody knows how a bicycle works. Everybody's ridden a bike. We all know what it means to ride a good bike and how it feels to ride a bad one that isn't good. And I thought, man, what if I could use the bike as a way to explain how a business worked? And the more that I looked at it, the more I realized every component of a bike relates perfectly to a part of the business. And they've all got to work together well in order to have a good ride, in order to have fun on it and go fast. And so that was kind of the aha that I had that really did transform the business, because then everybody said, oh, I get it. I know what my role is. I know how I fit. And here's what we need to tune up to make this better. And that's what they did.
Well, I love that analogy with the bike, because everyone, we think in pictures, right? So that allows someone to be able to start hanging different concepts on the bike of where they need to make the adjustment, or maybe it tuned up within that process.
Yeah, it does. I was stunned that by the time I got done explaining how a bike was like a business to my team, everybody came up and they said, oh, I know what we need to fix. And then it was just a matter of deciding what was most important, what to work on first. And we methodically did that. And over a course of several years, we turned a business that was struggling and not profitable at all into one that was fast growing and very profitable, and one that even was attractive to our toughest competitor. And that was a win for all of us.
So after watching your father's family-owned business struggle, how did that impact you?
I did. That was a tough period, Warren. I come from a large family. I've got 11 brothers and sisters, and so I worked in the business with my dad. My dad had a dream. He had a vision. He wanted to build a business and leave a legacy for his 12 children. And so we all worked in the business with him as we grew old enough to do that. But my dad had no clue how to run a business. He was just good at his trade. And so it constantly was in a state of disarray, a state of struggle. We didn't make out well financially at all. But through that experience, I really wanted to know what it took to make a business work. So that became kind of my life's mission, to just understand how a business worked. And now, very honestly, my dream, my goal today is to leave a legacy for my dad, so that the struggles he went through can be avoided by anybody else who has this passion and desire to run and grow their own business.
Wow, that's really powerful. As a key focus,
it drives me every day.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It definitely ties to the strong why for you to be able to help other businesses to not go through that struggle.
Yeah, I saw some things. My dad unfortunately went through some things. He never, Warren, the reason we do a business is to enjoy our life. It's not supposed to be the replacement for our life. It's supposed to allow us to have time with our family, do the things we want to do, involve ourselves in the things we're passionate about outside of work. So if our work is consuming us and we're missing everything that's going on in our family, and we don't have a good relationship with our spouse, whatever our situation is, then what's the purpose, right? So we got to make sure we have things in perspective.
As a key focus for your business, it's to energizing leaders to transform their businesses by creating radically engaged teams. Can you expand upon that for our listeners?
Yeah, I can. I came to this idea several years ago, Warren, that getting the business structure right is like part A of the two-part epoxy formula for success. So you have to have part A, but without part B, part A is kind of, it'll hold for a while, but it's not going to hold over the long term. So the part B that I came to realize was, look, I can build a great bike. If I use the bike as a metaphor for business, I can build a great bike. The question is, how hard are the team members pedaling? Are they really pushing hard on the pedal? Are they on the big ring of the front chain, right? Are they really working at it? And so I started asking questions of employees, of team members, of supervisors, business owners, and just asking the question, what kinds of comments would your team be making if they were radically engaged, if they were just so fired up about your business that they were as passionate about it as you were as a business owner? And I collected those words, those phrases, for probably 6 months. And then I kind of assimilated them all together, and I came up with this model to understand how radically engaged teams are. And Warren, I found it to be unbelievably just eye-opening when you apply it to a group of people working in a business. Unbelievable what you can find out about how people are thinking about your business.
Well, that's really fascinating in reference to gathering that data about engaged teams. When you gathered that data, did you find like the missing pieces of, if they weren't as engaged, how to be able to increase that level of engagement?
Yeah, in fact, that was the part that was most exciting about it. Is, I narrowed it down to like 36 statements that fell into three broad categories. And then when we got the results from how people responded to those questions, we could then guide the business owner to focus on the areas that mattered most, the places where the team said, I really don't get it, or I really don't, that doesn't light me up. That doesn't, I'm not feeling it, if you will, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, right? One meaning, no, not really. And 10 meaning, yeah, I'm fired up. And so it just allowed us the clarity to be able to say, what do we need to work on specifically to get our team more engaged, more fired up, more passionate about helping us make this business better.
Yeah, I could see why businesses would want to engage in that work with you, because that just creates leverage from an owner's perspective. If they have their team that is engaged in their work, and increases the return on their investment and the level of energy throughout the whole team, and creating a strong culture.
Yeah, see, I think, Warren, that the goal here is to own a business, not necessarily to have to run it. And the only way we get there is that we surround ourselves with these people who are so committed and passionate about our business that they want to see it succeed more than we do. And when you can make that happen, all of a sudden it frees up the business owner to go out and look for the next great opportunity, or to work on their passion project, whatever it might be, spend more time with their family. But the business, the customer, gets the same high quality service that they would if the business owner were there. I think that's the beauty of it, and that's what really makes it fun and exciting.
So, as the author of the Ultimate Business Tune-Up, you provide a step-by-step guide for small businesses to succeed. What's one step a business owner can take in today's environment to keep their business tuned up?
Warren, you touched on it before. In today's environment, I think there are three things we have to focus on. One is we have to protect our people, our team, and our customers. So protection has got to be number one on our mind in today's global environment that we're in. The second thing we have to do is the one we talked about earlier. We have to pivot. We have to make changes. Doing our business the way it is today is not going to be a road to success. We've got to brainstorm and think about different ways to deliver our message, our promise, deliver our product, those kinds of things. The third area that I focus on right now is on profit, is on making consistently generating a profit for the business. Not, no business can survive long without profit. So we can't, even in this time, ignore it. So we have to cut unnecessary expenses. We have to double down on our investments, those things that give us a good return. And we got to make sure that we've reframed our promotions, our offerings, so that people who still need and want our services understand how important they are, how relevant they are, how necessary they are for them. So we can't stop promoting. Those three things have to happen if we want to have a consistent, sustainable business through this opportunity that we all call a crisis.
Very good. I love that. So it's protect, pivot, and profits.
That's what I would say. Those to me are those are the things that I'm asking all of my clients to double down on. Let's get these right. And later on we can work on other things, but right now these are the fundamentals.
So I believe that success leaves clues, and one of those clues are what successful leaders are reading. So what authors have influenced you in your business?
I am a voracious reader. I love it because I there are no new ideas. It's just trying to incorporate the ideas of others. But I will tell you that there's one author that speaks to me directly. His name is Keith Cunningham. Many people may not have heard of him, but he's the rich dad in Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So he's a business genius. But he wrote a book not long ago called The Road Less Stupid. And
Okay.
that book is a must read for anybody who's trying to lead a team or run a business or even start a business today. The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham.
Excellent. I'll have to add that to my list. That is one that I have not read yet.
You'll love it. I promise you.
So what does the future hold for you, Rich? Any special projects that you're working on?
Well, it's interesting because, timing is everything. But about 6 months before this event that we're in, I basically transformed my business so that I could do more virtual business coaching. And so that's been my path. And now all of a sudden I've been accelerated on that journey. So I work with a lot of people. I'm in the Dallas area, so I work with a lot of businesses here. But my journey and my hope is that I'll continue to engage and involve myself with businesses, no matter where they're located. I want to spread the insights that I've learned from my dad to as many small business owners as I can. That's my passion for for this next decade.
That's excellent. And that's another great example of how to pivot, even though you were in the process of establishing more virtual work, but still to being able to pivot from the work that you've done in years past.
Yeah, we're all doing it, right? And so we've just got to embrace it. It's got to be something we just step up and say, look, this is our new reality. And until that changes, I'm going to make the best of it.
Right. So if our listeners wanted to connect with you, Rich, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Well, Warren, I put together a specific page for your listeners just to give them a few free resources that they could jump onto. My website is
excellent.
My website is called tourdeprofit.com. So it's one word, TOURDEPROFIT.com. So like Tour de France, but just tourdeprofit.com and /obstacle buster, one word, obstacle buster. I put some free resources there for your folks to be able to tap into and download. And I just hope they find them valuable.
Well, excellent. Thank you for doing that, Rich. I know our listeners will find great value with that.
I hope they do. That's, my goal is just simply to help. So, I appreciate the opportunity and I appreciate what you're doing to help people break down these barriers. I applaud you for that because that's what everybody needs to hear and do today.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rich. And thank you for sharing your strategies and tips and resources to help our listeners continue breaking through those obstacles so they can achieve their success that they started launching their small business.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Well, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying until next time, make it a great day.